Okay, hello YouTube. Today I want to talk about playing for traps in the opening and how we should go about this if we want to become better players. So anyways, if you like content like this and you want to see more of it, please hit that subscribe button, click on that notification icon. Lately, I've been noticing that a lot of goofy gambits seem to be going around. People just want to play goofier and goofier gambits. And of course, this has always been a popular thing at the club level. I remember when I played at the club level, back in the 90s, early 2000s. That was always a thing. People just want to play gambits. One of the gambits that's going around now is after e4, e5, knight f3, people are playing bishop c5 and gambiting this pawn. Now, my objection to playing gambits like this, with the black pieces, are if white just knows the theory. I mean, at least according to Stockfish, this position is already +2 for white. So white just basically has a winning position if he's memorized a couple of lines. In my mind, that's not the type of chess we want to play, especially considering if the only reason you're playing this is for traps, like you're just crossing your fingers and hoping your opponent's going to fall for something, why not just memorize a whole bunch of traps in the main line of any opening? And you're actually going to find out that there are just as many traps in the main lines of just about every opening as there are in these weird, goofy gambits. Actually, a lot of times there's even more, because a lot of times in weird, goofy gambits, there's kind of one line that you have to go down, and there's 2 or 3 traps along the way. But let's just take a really popular opening. Let's take, like, the French defense, e4, e6, d4, d5. And I'm going to show you that there's probably a dozen or more traps just in the main line of the French defense. We're going to have knight c3, d takes c4, knight takes c4. And now, depending on what move order black plays, white can play for all kinds of different traps here. One game that I saw years ago that was actually played at the master level is played between a master and an international master. The master was playing the black pieces, the international master was playing white. And I guess he said that he actually knew the trap. The guy playing the black pieces said he knew the trap, but he forgot about it and he fell for it anyway. But the game continued bishop to d7, knight f3, bishop c6, bishop d3, and then he made the mistake of playing the move knight to f6. This is actually already a mistake. He's already falling into a trap. And the trap is after knight f6, queen f6. Pause the video and see if you can find white's next move. The move is bishop g5, which actually traps the queen. And at first glance, it doesn't look like it traps the queen, because it looks like black has bishop takes f3, but then white uncorks queen d2, which holds the bishop and prevents the queen from moving anywhere. So this queen is actually completely trapped. And if you try to play something like queen takes d4, bishop b5 check is a discovered attack against that queen. After bishop c6, queen d4, we want to hold queen. And actually that game, I just want to show the rest of that game, because that game actually finished kind of interesting. The game continued with bishop takes g2, bishop takes f6, bishop takes h1. He retreated the bishop to h4, and then we had this h6 move, which was another weird kind of mistake. And then we had queen e3, knight d7, and the game ended with, pause the video and see if you can find it, mate in 2. Queen takes e6, f takes e6, bishop g6, and mate. So, I mean, to me, that's an incentive to play the main line. If a game could end like this in less than, in 14 moves, that's incentive for me to play the main line. But what's interesting is if I play the main line, in the mainline French, like, let's just take other move orders that are possible. So we go all the way back to this mainline French, d4, d5, knight to c3, d takes c4, knight takes c4. They could develop a number of different ways, and I have a number of different traps that I can play here. For example, let's say they take this development route. Bishop e7, knight f3, just playing the main line, not doing anything crazy. Knight to f6, knight takes f6, still mainline chess. Bishop f6, bishop to d3, still mainline, and then they just castle, which is a pretty natural move. We can actually set up a trap. We can just play h4, and we actually have a huge threat here already. The point is if they play b6, we can play this classic bishop sacrifice, also called the Greek gift. We can play bishop takes h7, king h7, knight g5 check. Of course, here, if they play bishop takes g5, h6, g5 opens the rook file. They have to retreat the king, queen h5, threatening queen h7, mate. So rook e8 is forced, queen takes, king over, queen threatens mate again, king back, and then we just push. We play h5. And what's interesting about this is they have no defense, like, according to the engine. The queen can't leave the back rank because the rook is hanging. And, of course, if they do nothing, we just improve our position with h6 and knight f7, almost no matter what they do. The best line, according to the engine, is queen d7. And then we have h6, and then rook d8, just trying to get the rook out of the line of fire of the queen, because the queen wasn't free until the rook moved, because the queen on g6 was constantly threatening to take it. But here, white wins with knight takes f7. The point being that now the threat is h7 followed by h8 equals queen, and that threat actually cannot be stopped. So, for example, if queen takes f7, we would play h7, and the king has to abandon the protection of the queen on f7. So king h8, queen takes queen is game over. And of course, if the king goes to, if the king goes the other way, if the king goes to f8, we just have h8 equals queen, winning the game as well. And if you do nothing, if you just make another move, like queen takes d4, threatening mate on d1, same problem, just h7, h8 equals queen, and then we just take on d8, exchange, exchange. Here, queen f7 threatens rook h8 mate, which is also winning. So again, like, in my mind, if I can play like the opening like this, and I can get a huge advantage, I want to play it like this. And okay, what if they play something else? Like after knight f3, like what if they play knight d7 instead, like a different move order? Well, we have other traps, like for example, bishop d3, knight on gdf6, queen e2 is a perfectly reasonable move. And then there's this really well-known trap. It goes knight takes d4, bishop takes e4, and if they play knight f6, which is a mistake, pause the video and see if you can find this one. You have bishop takes b7, bishop b7, queen b5 check. Queen d7, queen takes bishop. I mean, you just win a pawn. It's just a whole pawn right there, just for nothing. So that's something that I've just never really understood, is why play a gambit to play for traps? You can play the main line, and there are tons of traps. And you can play for these traps, and worst case scenario, if they know the traps, you just end up with a position where you have a very slight edge with white, and you just play for a win from there. Your position is no worse. But if you play something really crazy to play for a trap, if you play something really weird, worst case scenario is they know the theory, and then you have to resign. So I would rather play the main line, where like here, I've just shown probably about, close to a half dozen different traps, and we never had to leave the main line. We never had to put our position at any risk or any jeopardy. But if you want to play a gambit instead and just risk losing the game just because your opponent did a little bit of homework, I mean, that's up to you. But personally, I would just learn the main lines, and I would play for the traps that way. I'm basically just playing chess with no risk to my own position. So anyways, I'm going to do a couple more of these. This one was basically just kind of like traps and kind of the mainline French. And I'm going to do a few more. I'm going to do like traps in the Scandinavian and traps in the mainline this and traps in the mainline this. So this is going to be, playing for traps in the mainline French. Anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you learned something new about chess. And thank you very much for watching.